Hi, welcome to our Vodcast Antriksh Talks, where we meet interesting people and industry leaders to dissect terms, trends, brands, and stories. Today, we have an interesting person with us. He is actually my school senior. He started his career as a sales consultant in Tata. Then he went on to found his own company, Pixel Magic Digital, a digital marketing company, and they specialize in marketing and sales for the education domain. Welcome, Aakash, to our podcast.
Thank you.
Actually, it's strange, because we met after quite a lot of years, and I think after school time we connected after a long time.
Almost 5 years, I guess, 5 to 6
Yeah,
years.
more than that, and
Yeah.
it's really great to have you on this episode.
Thank you.
And today we are going to discuss about robotics and technical education and how schools can align their curriculum, communication, and messaging overall.
So, before I start about telling about robotics, STEM education, introduction to the AI and all this stuff, I would just like to ask a very simple question to you. Do you remember our school days? Do you remember that we didn't had this concept, right, to introduce to us?
Right, robotics sounded like a science fiction word altogether.
Correct.
We didn't have that, and we joke about that. It's state
Yeah.
education and CBSE and ICSE. We used to feel that inferiority complex.
Correct.
After our schooling got over,
Right.
that was always there. Yes.
Correct. For us, robotics was just like a toy.
Hmm.
We used to think like that. If somebody is telling us about robotics, we used to think that their robot means what? The physical toy which we used to see.
Hmm.
So we used to visualize that only, right?
Right.
But we didn't knew that there are some mechanism behind that also, right? So now we have the best education system designed by our government, where technical education has been introduced in the syllabus itself. So it has been introduced from grade 1st standard to grade 10th standard.
Hmm.
So depending upon the IQs of the students, this education is being given to the students.
Right.
So now you can think that how skillful the student will be, how important it is to have skills integrated into them rather than just focusing upon the grades.
Right.
So this is the best part which we are going to talk about.
So Akash, robotics and technical education, it's like a vast domain altogether.
Correct.
So, and I think it's also new for many schools because, as per new education policy and different changes to the curriculum, even schools are starting to integrate this now.
Correct.
So, if we want to define, this whole subject in a simpler term, like how would you define or, take upon all aspects?
So basically, robotics is an subject where science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, all these four comes together, all these aspects comes together and helps the children to grow, think intelligent way, and develop a machine.
Right.
So this kind of education is been introduced in the schools where we commonly term it as STEM. STEM education. It itself stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Robotics education is itself designed in such a way that the children gets to know about what actually is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in designing a machine.
Right.
So this way of education or this way of thinking, intellectual thinking, they can think in a very critical way. They know how to solve the problems. They will know how exactly what solutions they have to give, exactly what is their strength points, and what kind of things they can innovate. So this kind of thinking we have to promote. So that's why this education is introduced in the syllabus.
And yeah, we have been hearing about STEM education, and always, as you rightly said, those four aspects have been treated differently.
Correct.
Science differently, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But robotics is like a amalgamation of all these four aspects.
Correct.
So it is indeed an interesting arena because
Correct.
students are surrounded by technology right from the day they are born. Actually,
Right.
the children, even before they go to school, they are adept at technology.
Correct.
So I think it's not going to be challenging for students because they are already a part of the technological ecosystem. But it's kind of applying, whatever they are interacting with to create a solution, a living solution in a way.
Right. The basic need of this is they have to think in a way that they can solve real time problems.
Right.
Correct. So that's why this kind of education is necessary. And as you said, this science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, these four aspects are the main pillar to grow as an individual,
Right.
to survive in the market, right?
Right.
After schooling, that is after 10th standard, after the 11th and 12th standard also, and when they go for a career choice, right? At that time also, they should know that what exactly they are strong with, right? In which aspect they are strong. So that's why it should be introduced from the grade 1 level.
Right.
Okay.
In a way, looking at different bubbles or tech revolutions that has happened in different stages in India, robotics has gained a new momentum as well. And in a way, it has become more like a fad or a brand,
Correct.
in terms of, because it sounds cool. So there are possibilities that, it can be introduced in a way that students might not actually benefit from it because it's not structured. So what would be the right way to introduce it or segregate the learning strategy?
Okay. As per my perspective, I would like to tell you that the syllabus should be designed in a very smart way. For example, you can say grade 1 to grade 3 students, they should be just shown with the videography of the robotics, right?
Like introduction.
Like introduction to the machines, introduction to the various kind of Arduino robots, various types of robots, right? Obstacle detector robots, anything. So from grade 3 to grade 5, you can introduce them with an coding concept, just a simple introduction, and from grade 7 to grade 10th or grade 12th. So depending upon your school, is it for 11th, 12th also, or it is just for 10th standard. Then you can introduce to the AI, that is artificial intelligence. Then you can introduce them with the coding, block coding, embedded coding, that is been required to make a robot or develop a machine who can automate itself, who can work automatically.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So this concept in this way we can design the syllabus, or we can add our vision on this.
Right, in a way it could be progressively complex instead of directly theoretical and technical. I think makes sense to introduce this robotics concept in such a way that it's application based, which can be really useful from the industry standpoint after they complete the 10th or 12th.
Correct.
Based on the kind of things that robotics indulges in, what are the benefits that teachers and parents can witness through this subject?
Good question. Best way I would like to tell is, if with this help of education, students comes together, sits together, so they develop a machine together. So here we can cover team building activity, group interactions, critical thinking, real-time problem-solving attitude, and intellectual thinking. So all these aspects are being covered in robotics education.
Right, and in a way, teachers and parents can also witness, or detect what are the capabilities or strengths of the students.
Correct.
From different aspects. For
Right.
example, as you said, since it involves science, tech, engineering, mathematics, based on that, they can identify which ones were the strong aspects. For example, I was really weak in maths, and in a way, I took the decision myself to not continue with maths in my college level. But I think these aspects can get identified at an early stage itself.
Correct. When they sit together in a group, so obviously some student will be great at science, some will be great at technology, some will be great at mathematics. So all these aspects, a teacher sitting there, she can understand that which student is best in what.
Right.
So this kind of thing also can be carried out in this kind of education.
Right. And touching upon aspects like learning different things from the school level itself, which were not earlier being taught. And I think along with robotics, the focus on STEM, I think there are other vocational subjects also being introduced as per the national education policy and changes that we are seeing. So I think it's a good news because students get to know, what they're good at.
Correct.
They don't have to wait till they finish their graduation to actually go in the real world and then test their skills. So I think that's a phenomenal way, the way our education system is progressing right now.
Yeah, you are absolutely right on this. Now what is happening now, we are moving towards Skill India program, right? To promote Skill India program, we have to think from our base level, that is from the schooling level, right? From the grade 1 itself. So if we start giving this robotic education, technical education right itself from the school level, obviously we are going to have the next generation in such a way that will be way skillful than us. Right? They will not be just degree oriented or the school grade oriented, right? So that is the main reason we are going to start this education.
And I think looking at the focus on manufacturing and engineering that our country is putting on, that we want to progress in these and these areas, and if we ever want to beat China, we need to have that skilled workforce who has the understanding of these concepts right from the school system.
If we want to survive at a global level, if we want to take India to be a developed nation, obviously we'll have to have the youth who is very strong in skills in technical education.
Right.
They have to be strong in technical education in any aspect. They can be technically strong in manufacturing also, or as well as they can be technically strong in IT sectors also. But they have to have this knowledge, right? So basically, this vocational course will not help us that level. I'm not saying that it is bad. Obviously, they are the roots of the education. They have to be taught. But if you have the addition of technical education, robotics education, introduction to the AI to the student at the school level itself, obviously we are going to have a next generation in such a way where we will not take so much of time that is been required to make India from developing country to a developed nation. If we have to reduce this gap to a decade or 2 decade gap itself, so obviously we'll have to have our roots very strong.
Right. And I think not only technical roles, but I think also people working in non-technical roles need to have a good understanding of tech, engineering in general, because everything is becoming tech-oriented nowadays. Like even if you look at content creation or these aspects or these fields, which are not exactly dealing with tech, but they also have that layer of technology. Which is why, irrespective of which field you are, you need to have that good knowledge at least of how this functions.
Right.
One key challenge that I am also observing is that the teachers or the teaching staff altogether, they don't have this background because similar to us, they were also not taught these things right from their school time. So when these new subjects are being integrated, I think schools are facing a challenge of how to implement it in the right way.
Correct.
So based on your expertise, how could schools get it right?
This problem you're talking about, I am facing it daily. I am getting it from each and every school which I visit. Personally, when I go to a school, I basically get to know that government is giving a facility called an Atal Lab. You might be knowing this. It's very famous now in India.
Atal Lab.
Yeah, Atal Labs. So what is happening here? You have a robotic lab itself in the school, but there are no qualified trainers in this area, right? Because as you said, a maths teacher is good at maths, right? A technical teacher is not there in school level. A computer teacher is good at computer itself, but she doesn't have the knowledge about sensors, the other parts which are being required, the motors, rectifiers and all those stuff, right? So what is happening here? There are programs where teachers are being trained apart from government Atal Labs. There are private vendors also which are being introduced to the schools, where these vendors works on 3 models. So basically, the very well-known model or very helpful model is there are vendors who provide labs to the schools as well as a qualified trainers on their payroll in the school itself. So this problem is being solved, right? Second model which is going on in the schools, these vendors are giving is they are giving kits, robotic kits, a DIY kit where the students can do it on their own. They can assemble all this stuff, get to know the mechanism we are working about this, and how they deliver this kind of project is they give videography to the computer teacher or any faculty from the school. They give the videos to them, they deliver the videos and give them a training of short period of time.
Okay.
So this is the second model which is going on. And the third model is there are vendors who are having a team of qualified trainers. They bring the projects with them, go to the schools and teach them.
Okay. So instead of assigning trainers, they themselves go.
They carry their own projects with them, they go, teach the students, come back with the projects.
And what are some major brands that are really making strides in this domain right now in India?
So talking about the fourth model, where the labs and the trainers will be given, the very well-known player is from Pune itself, that is PHN Technology Private Limited, which is based in Vimannagar.
Okay.
So basically what they do is they give a robotic lab set up to the school, okay, and as well as they give the qualified trainers, whose background is itself robotics. So here the core problem is being solved of the trainer, as you said.
So they are kind of solving the main issue, which is the knowledge gap.
Correct.
Which school teachers are lacking at the moment.
Correct, absolutely. So second is robotics. So what they do is they provide kits to the students, okay, and then they give the videos of how to build the project.
Okay.
And they teach these videos to the teachers. They take teacher training programs for almost 15 days. They train the teachers from the school faculty itself, and then the school faculty carries forward.
Okay, interesting.
So third player is Brain School. So basically how they function, they have army of trainers where they assign their trainer to a specific school they are tied up with, and they give them kits or the projects with them.
Okay.
So what they do, as per the grades they have the projects designed, they go teach the projects to the students and come back.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
But I think compared to these multiple brands, PHN seems like a good fit because they are also providing the labs as well as the training and as well as the kit. So it's like a one-stop solution for solving the complete problem altogether.
Correct, absolutely right. PHN Technology is solving this problem because they are providing the lab where there are 5,000 equipments,
Okay.
almost 5,000 equipment, as well as they are giving the qualified trainers.
So it's like solving all problems in-house and at one place.
Correct. So it will be a one-stop solution for this.
Right. And does PHN serve only schools and brands from Pune or across India as well?
No, not only for Pune, but PHN Technology is also active in Mumbai,
Okay.
Nashik, Ahmedabad, Gujarat, and now they are targeting Himachal Pradesh. So they have already been tied up with 3,000 schools for Himachal Pradesh, and they're working on it accordingly.
Okay. Akash, since you deal with different schools, like almost hundreds of schools on a daily basis, you might have observed that there is a lot of gap in terms of the value that schools provide and the value that they present.
Correct.
So, how should schools portray themselves or portray that messaging as to what kind of education they provide?
School should not focus on branding, rather than school should focus on building a society or contribution towards the society. In that way, school should think. In that way, school thinks or school management thinks in that way. Obviously, it will help them in branding itself. So basically, school is not a business of profits, right? School is a business of knowledge. So school should be totally focusing on what kind of education, what quality of education. So quality of education is the basic, you can say, niche where school should focus and work 360 around this only. So they should be able to deliver quality of education rather than focusing on giving, as we say, false branding is going on in the school sector itself. Rather than promoting some other kind of activities, they should focus on promoting quality of education. So this way they can build a brand itself.
Right. As you rightly said, many schools are focusing on branding but not quality of education. And that way, they are putting out false promises and then not being able to deliver on it. Ultimately, it ruins the school's education system and also a child's learning journey as well. So I think you're absolutely right. Schools should be focusing on quality of education, but don't you think it's also important that they are able to portray it properly? Because, for example, if there's a big school, with big funds and big kind of money, they will of course be loud about it, and they could overshadow a school which is actually teaching in a nice manner. So how do you help these kind of schools portray the right kind of messaging to parents?
Obviously, big sharks are going to overshadow the small fishes in the pond. That example also right fits in this education sector also. There are various international schools, big brands, right, in an area, and there are small schools also. What I advise them is, you should not feel this as a competition. Rather, you should focus on yourself, focus on giving quality of education, focus on giving appropriate time to the students, focus on giving exact information to be delivered to the parents. If you can develop a youth in such a way that their contribution will be much more in the society, then as a school you are going to outstand. Because having a school is not a one-day business, right? You have to sustain in the school system or education system. So you are going to develop progressively. If you are going to overspend on marketing rather than focusing on spending on good quality teachers, and you're going to spend on marketing, obviously it is going to backfire in some coming years.
Right. And when you provide good education, your students, or rather their parents, automatically become kind of your champions or messaging champions, because they spread the word and they tell other parents, this school is great, they teach these kind of subjects, they provide a good student to teacher ratio. So I think for schools, I think word of mouth is the best kind of marketing that they can expect.
Yes, absolutely correct. Word of mouth is the best marketing tool, not only for school but all businesses.
In general, but I think for school more so, because they don't want to appear greedy and all
Correct.
marketing kind of a vibe altogether. They should be focusing on education, and that should speak for itself, for the school itself.
Right. As I told you, if you are thinking on quality of education, contribution to the society, if you are thinking in this aspect, obviously this word of mouth is going to spread much way faster than a brand or than a school who is focusing on marketing, right?
Right.
So you are not going to be absolute in some coming years. So you are going to grow progressively. You should do marketing, because what you are delivering in your school should be spread in the society. For example, as I am telling you, if you are having a school, you are a school owner and you are having a robotics lab or you are having some other kind of extracurricular activities, obviously it should be portrayed to the parents.
Right.
It is going to spread automatically in the society. For example, say in an area, specific area, there is a school who is great at delivering knowledge, but is not having digital presence. The parents around the schools will not actually get to know what kind of education, what kind of quality of education the school is giving. Spread of mouth is a good part, but they should at least have the digital presence. So basically, they can go for a website. So basically, they can have an updated website. So showcase what kind of education they are giving. They should speak for themselves. This no one is going to come and help them, right?
Correct. It's all about just proactive digital presence.
Correct.
Instead of hard marketing.
Correct.
Don't you think rural schools are falling behind because of lack of funds or lack of exposure? How can they ensure that their students get this kind of education?
The schools in the rural areas can approach to government, as I told you at the start, at the beginning of the Atal Labs. So they can go approach to government to provide them with the Atal Labs. There are other players also like Robotics and Technology, Amazon, who are giving CSR funds.
Okay.
So they are raising the CSR funds for these kind of schools, so that this kind of quality of education is being provided to each and every student across India.
Okay.
So this kind of solutions have also been given.
Right. And I think it's the responsibility of teachers, staff members, of schools from every level to be aware about these schemes or these ideas, these systems and patterns, so that they can proactively implement it. But I think government is also making it almost compulsory. Right? I don't think any school can escape this new education policy.
Yeah. So according to the new education policy, it has been ensured that each and every school at least introduced to the technical education.
Right.
So no school can escape from this kind of education.
Right. And it would certainly be interesting to see, the kind of students and the kind of knowledge that we see in the coming decade.
Correct.
And it's been said that this decade is truly India's decade. And Aakash, I think you guys are doing a fantastic job of contributing to this segment, which is the most important segment in our country, education. And kudos to you, and I wish you all the best for this journey. And for schools watching this podcast, please reach out to Aakash for implementing these kind of solutions or getting help with implementing robotics and STEM education in a proper manner for your students. Thanks for watching this episode, and let us know in the comments your thoughts about this topic, and also let us know if you would like us to talk about any other interesting topic as well. Thank you.